too. He's got a brand new article.
Cool.
Hey, YouTubers, welcome. Home Server Show. We're going to be talking server essentials, Hyper-V, and what all that entails in the home market. We're just kind of getting set up right now, and this is, first of all, it's an audio podcast. You can get it at homeservershow.com if you're watching on the YouTubes, but we'll say that a couple times during the show. Just getting set up. Getting my server essentials dashboard and all that good stuff. Sorry. Home market. Home market. We're just kind of getting set up right now, and this.
I'm gonna have to pause that.
At least the video's working.
So you said you sent out a Google Docs?
Yeah,
Yep.
let me see if I did.
I don't
Yeah,
see
I
it.
did.
The last one I have is 2:55 March 11th.
Oh, you know what? It didn't do the dot. But it's Johnny Zadler at Gmail or John Zadler?
John.Zadler.
There it is. It showed up. So Johnny Zadler, whoever that is, he's got edit rights. We're going to take him off.
Maybe it's one of John's old accounts.
Yeah. Okay. They forwarded to you, I hope.
Thanks.
And Joe Myra just got it. Excuse me. Jeez. I don't know if he's available, but he just got it. Just read it. It was a minute ago. Oh, he's doing taxes. Okay. Okay. It's just us fellas. We're going to go forums. We're going to open the latest. I wonder why my mouse is so sluggish. My batteries are going down. Drives me batty. Just drives me batty.
Clean the surface of it.
Or throw it across the room.
That's one way to solve
I
it.
could do, yeah. Why can't I find a mouse that I like that's Bluetooth?
Because they're all for mobile devices.
Yeah. They're all chintzy, little bitty. And then the nice big ones always have a little transceiver.
Yep.
Drives me bonkers too.
Logitech ones are usually nice. They're like tiny.
I'll see. Every time I do that, it knocks off my remote desktop. That's the other thing. So I go into PC settings on the screen. Bluetooth. Arc Touch, Sculpt Touch. This is a Sculpt Touch. Whatever. No time. No time. Sorry, live video. Okay, you ready, guys?
Yeah.
Should be,
Yep.
Guys, in the chat room, if you sound odd or whatever, sound check. Oh. Schoonover is streaming, flying over these United States of ours. Streaming home server show. Nice. Hey guys, listening in the chat room, if you want to tweet it or retweet my tweet, you can get on the tweet wall behind me. Very visible. Is it visible tonight? It's sort of visible. Oh, I've got it on. No, it's good. Oh, God. Jim's wife is tweeting something out. She's going crazy.
Is Jim coming in or what? Where is he?
Oh, he's we've got Jim working. He's on location. All right, so here we go. The audio part going. Back to the show notes. May 13. This is the Home Server Show, episode number 261, recorded on this day of May the 13th, 2014. Welcome back to the Home Server Show. I'm your host, David McCabe. Tonight, joined by longtime Home Server Show participant, Mr. Johnny Zadler, also known as Die Hard in the forums. How you doing tonight, John?
Hi, Dave, and I can't say hi, Jim, and I'll say hi, Christopher, and hi, chat room guys.
You're so used to saying hi, Dave, hi, Jim. Mr. Jim Collison, he is on location tonight, working. We've got him out looking for those 5 terabyte drives that are so hard to find. But I think maybe Schoonover put something in the forums or emailed me or something about a 5 terabyte drive. I think he found one. But otherwise, helping us out tonight, Mr. Christopher Courtney, also known as Drashna in the forums. How you doing tonight?
Great. A little warm out here, but
Sunny San Diego.
yep.
I would hope so. If it's not warm out there, then we have problems.
Well,
Dave,
it's like,
I saw 6 terabyte drives.
6 terabyte. Yes.
Yeah.
But 5 terabyte.
Yeah, but 5 terabyte drive, Dave, that's like, remember back in the day when we had the 1 terabyte, 1.5, and then 2 terabytes?
Mm-hmm.
It's like a lot of people, it's like, 1.5, forget it. Let's jump to the 2. Let's either take a 1 or a 2 terabyte. It seemed like, it's an odd number. Maybe there's something in people's psyche. So 5 terabyte drive, I kind of feel the same.
The 3 is really popular drive. 3
Yeah.
terabyte was a very popular. That's right when Western Digital came out with the red, right? So 3 terabyte reds were just all the rage. And then 4 terabytes come out. I don't think they're quite as popular as the 3s. And then all of a sudden, bam, we're at 6.
Yeah, I think the best will be the it depends on what price. I think, like you said, Schoonover, you put one in the forums. I think somebody had a link of $50 off, so I think it was $2.99. I saw. I'm not sure if it was a Seagate one, but that's the price, right? You have to kind of figure, a 6 terabyte, $300. So can I get 2 3 terabytes for the same? At 150 each. You can get them for less than 150. So if you're limited with space in your server, sometimes you have no choice. If you have like a Media Smart server and it's only a 4 server box and you want to max out, or again, Media Smart, it might be a problem with the card. Does the motherboard support those larger drives?
Right. Yeah, your older servers are going to run into that problem.
Yeah.
Well, we're just getting rolling, so I'll give some homework to the chat room right now. There's a bunch of guys in chat. And if you're listening on YouTube, when I say chat room, I mean every time we go live, you can go to homeservershow.com/live. There's a free chat room that we monitor and talk to these guys back and forth. And you don't have to have a password or anything. You just put your handle in there and you can chat with us. So 5 terabyte drives, chat room. That is your homework. Let's price out some 5 terabyte drives. And we've been trying to price out 4, 5s, and 6s every week, trying to keep up with it. So let's do that. So chat room, off you go. Except for we have one guy in chat who is on an airplane on GoGo. Mr. Kevin Schoonover, the creator of the Schoonover drive bracket for the Gen 8 server. He's streaming while flying. So it's always pretty cool that you would do that. I think that's cool. All right, tonight, guys, we're going to be talking a lot of essentials. So I've kind of digging into my install, gotten a little further, and I want to kind of bend your ear a little bit about it, and hopefully other folks will learn from all the stuff that I'm doing, whether it's mistakes or the right thing or not. But first of all, let's start with Twitter, twitter.com/homeservershow. You can find this podcast, whether we're podcasting or not. While we do it live, right behind me is a Twitter wall. If you want to tweet it, you can usually show up back there. I don't know if it's blurry or not, but you can usually see yourself up there on the Twitter wall. The rest of these guys, Jim, John, Christopher, Courtney, Mr. Drashnet, their Twitter will be in the show notes. You can find them in the show notes, and please follow these guys too. They have witty things to say as well. Now we need to talk about Meetup, guys. I've been mentioning it kind of in passing, and I think it's kind of getting serious in the forums. And I mentioned September. I wanted September to be the month, and I'm getting a lot of stuff on my phone. Sorry. Meetup, September. Meetup 2014. I think the general consensus is September 20th, which that should be a Saturday, and we generally meet in on the Friday prior. Let me look at my calendar here. September 20th is a Saturday, so we'll meet. We'll have a small mini meetup on the 19th. That's generally how we do it. Pre-set up if we can. Go out to eat, shoot the bull, have some fun, drink some brews, and then we'll do the meetup all day on Saturday. And then you are free to head back Saturday night. I wouldn't head back Saturday night. You need to stay for Saturday night, and head back on Sunday. But save some time. We usually have breakfast on Sunday morning. So, what do you think, guys? John, it's time for you to make it to a meetup.
Yeah, if I could afford it, I'd be there. It would be nice.
We need to get some more Canadians, and we need to have a road trip. We're going to road trip to Indianapolis. I know the guys in the forums are trying to get us to Minneapolis. There's like 14 people that live in Minneapolis, and they want to have it there. And I think it'd be fun to have it there. Maybe we need to have a satellite meetup in Minneapolis. I don't know about San Diego, Drashnet.
Well, it'll be nice and, well, relatively warm compared to the rest of the country.
It would be. It would be. Maybe, again, you can get some road trippers from the West Coast to come in. So let's throw that out tentatively. September 20th, 2014. Meetup 4 will be the Average Guy.tv, homeservershow.com, surfacegeeks.net, and haforums.com, the homeautomationforums.com. It's going to be a major meetup number 4. And I'll get more information out to you. I'm not going to start that early this time. I'm not going to start that early. One thing I will do, I'm going to say it's tentatively. I'm going to say it's tentative. When I put it in stone, I'll announce it. And I'll do that as soon as I can. I just need to clear some things up. Make sure I can put it in stone. That way, you can start shopping. You can shop for airline tickets and hotel and stuff. So usually what we do is we get a date, and then I pick a venue, and then you can really start shopping. So it worked well last year. We'll make it work this year. All right, so I have this crazy story for you guys. Crazy story. Now, I'm going to do it real quick. Kellogg's cereal. I know this is starting out like no other story about home servers has ever started out before with Kellogg's cereal. This goes back to my security concerns for you guys. We've been talking security about it since Heartbleed's been out. So Kellogg cereal had some codes on the back of their box or inside their boxes. Collect 3 codes, you get a free book. You get a free book. So I collected my codes over the last year, and I thought it's time to sit down, get my free Clifford book or whatever it is for the kids, and get that going before it expires, because I always let this stuff expire, and I always forget to do it. So you're supposed to go to kellogg'sfreebook.com to register, get your book, put your codes in. So I went to kellogg'sfreebook.com, but I fat fingered it and only put 1G in Kellogg's. So KELLOGS freebook.com. Don't go there. For God's sakes, don't go there. It's a scam. There could be alien malware on there. Just don't go there. Well, what it ended up doing is it had book information. And it was like, register. Please register for your free. And I should have known. In the beginning, it said for your ebook, for your free ebook of choice, or for free ebooks monthly or something. It was so I put in my stuff. I put in my email, and I don't know what maybe I might have put an address in, maybe a phone number,
Visa card, expiration date.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I put in I used LastPass to generate a password. So I have LastPass set up for a 12-digit password, and that usually works most of the time. 12, usually it's like 8 to 10, 8 to 12 works. And so I got my account. And then usually when I'm signing up for something, I immediately hear that boop in the background saying I got email, right? Because I used my Gmail account. And I didn't hear it. I'm like, oh, that's odd. Usually you get that. And then at the bottom it says, okay, you've done that. Now we need to verify your identity. Please input your credit card. We will not bill it. We're just verifying it's you. And I'm like, this is not right. You just feel like, wow, this is not right. I should have known before I even got to this point. So I started looking around, and I of course I open another tab and I type it in again, KELL, and then that autofill comes up, and I looked at it and I was like, oh, I missed a G. Oh, I was just like, oh my God, I've totally done malware. And I put in the second G, and of course, when I put in that second G, it goes to kellogg'sfreebook.com. You can try that one, kellogg'sfreebook.com, and it just says, input your codes. Just put your codes in. No register, no nothing. Just put your codes in. So I felt like a dummy, and thank God I didn't put the credit card in. And I went back to that tab. I closed that tab. Then I opened a new tab, and I went to it again. I typed in the wrong one again, and it tried to forward to a different site altogether, and then Google blocked it. So, thankfully these thieves were dumb enough to ask for my credit card to verify my identity, because that's what tipped me off. But fat fingering domain names. Sometimes that's why you search before you click. If you just type it in willy-nilly and you mistype it.
Well, you know how many people I help with their computer. They got some computer problems, and then I tell them go to like I don't know, TeamViewer is the biggest one. I say, okay, you have a problem. Log into go to TeamViewer, and there should be a big icon on green icon. Click on that to download. So like they type in TeamViewer, and then it's like I don't see the icon, blah blah blah. And you're doing this like from kind of memory. It's like, geez, if the guy can't install TeamViewer, like what kind of problems are gonna have now? Next, then it's like, what's going on? Then finally, I realized. I says, where are you? Like on what site? He says, I'm typing it in Google. I said, don't type it in Google. It's in the address bar. So many people use like Google as their homepage, and then you tell them go to teamviewer.com. Teamviewer.com. Don't type in teamviewer.com in the Google search. Go to teamviewer.com on the top. Then you'll see. Then it's like, okay. And so many people do that. It's I think it's I don't know. Do you do that, Dave?
You know where that came from is because back in the day, you remember AOL keywords? It's like, AOL keyword TeamView. And they would type that in, and that would send them, to a website within AOL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess if with if you do have Google as your homepage and you type in Kellogg, even if you start typing it wrong or whatever, like it'll correct it, right? Because
Well,
you
it
went right up
didn't.
to the toolbar, the address, the URL path, right?
See, I type it in again, KEL, and I see it come up with 1G, and that freaks me out.
Forever in your history.
Yeah, I gotta clear that. I can find it and delete that single one. So that was fun. That was interesting. I'm glad. I still haven't gotten an email from those guys for my free ebooks for life, but I'm guessing I'm not going to. All right, so let's talk some essentials, and I've got this. By the way, back to the meetup. There's a thread in the forums talking about the meetup, talking about the date, and I will put that in the show notes. So I am putting that in right now. So that will be in the show notes, so you can talk about the meetup. Okay, guys. So I've got this other long story. I don't know if you heard last week, but Drashna, I've bent your ear a couple of times about my essentials, and I told you guys last week I had 3 different ways I was thinking about attacking this install. I want to run Server Essentials, Server 2012 Essentials R2 Update. I want to run that and get off of my 2011. But I also want to run a VM because I want to drop. I have another server down there that's doing nothing but recording TV and playing and being a target for media center extenders. So I want to get that hardware off of the line.
Yeah.
So I can install Server Essentials 2012 R2 Update. I can just install that on a piece of hardware.
Mm-hmm.
I can install Hyper-V, that headless kind of server, and then I could start jamming on virtual machines, which is free, by the way, right?
Yeah, 100% free.
Hyper-V server's free. You just have to manage it from a different server, right?
There are some utilities to manage it on that server itself, but yeah, usually.
Mostly PowerShell, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which, as John would say, doesn't have enough pretty GUI stuff. It's not pretty.
Give me my eye candy.
Eye candy, that's the keyword. We got to have eye candy. So I pretty much had that one thrown out, but that's an option. That's an option. So the other option was running the big dog, Server 2012 R2 Update. And then installing a role. There's a role where you can say, give me essentials. And it'll, bam, your essentials. And then you can run Hyper-V on that. Now, it seems pretty easy that you would just install Server Essentials 2012 R2 Update. It's what you want, and it'll run Hyper-V. You load that Hyper-V role. But, as we've discussed on this show, it's not necessarily written in the terms of service that you can just go Hyper-V in all over the place and installing virtual machines.
Nope. Specifically, that role for Hyper-V on Essentials is meant only for a VM of Essentials.
Which I think we all agree is like, what?
I believe it's meant to be more portable and, if needed, to be live migrated onto other hardware if you eventually upgrade the system.
Okay.
I think that's specifically what the goal is for it.
But correct me if I'm wrong, when you load Hyper-V role, you can still throw in a Windows 7 ISO and load up a Windows 7 VM.
Oh, absolutely.
It
It's
doesn't
just
stop you.
nope. It's just against the licensing agreement for the
And the
operating system.
Microsoft police, I don't know. Maybe they show up at your house.
It's more if you get audited. In home use or testing, sure, that's okay. Okay. But if you're using it in production for like a business, no, you definitely wouldn't want to do that.
Probably not.
Uh, at that point, you're probably better off just going the Hyper-V server and then installing the VMs.
Hmm. Or if you're an MVP, you have free access to MSDN for testing software. And
Yep.
if you've already installed Windows Server 2012 R2 as a test, you might as well just continue along that testing path. Actually, I started out a couple of months ago. I installed 2012 Essentials. And Drash, no, we talked. I installed StableBit drive pool. I installed StableBit scanner, and I created a pool of 4 drives, 2 3 terabyte reds, and 2 2 terabyte blacks. So 2 4 and 2 2s and 2 3s, and I put that in a pool. And I've since, let me get my notes. Oh, I'm so analog. I write things down. I know some of you are just scoffing that it's not in OneNote, but I like to write things down. So, short story, I chose Windows Server 2012 R2 because I do have MSDN and I can test that. And I'm going to test Essentials, much like I tested 2011 for quite some time. So I'm going to start migrating that. So that's what I did. I'm fortunate to have MSDN. I appreciate that, and I will be a good voice for Server 2012. I will talk about it.
Though with the Hyper-V on the server 2012 R2 Essentials, I don't know if you've mentioned it before, but if you're running the remote access website, you also have to have a dedicated network card for Hyper-V.
Okay. I haven't played with remote web access yet.
That would probably be why you're not having any issues. Because if you have the remote web stuff turned on, it installs the routing and remote access role.
Okay.
And that conflicts with the Hyper-V networking stuff. That if you don't have a network card dedicated to Hyper-V and you're sharing it with the host operating system, it will cause the VMs to hang on shutdown.
Okay.
And by hang, I mean like it can take upwards of 20, 30 minutes for it to shut down a virtual machine.
Oh, see, I definitely don't have that problem. But I'll tell you why, is I installed a dual NIC. And so I have 3 network cards in this box. I didn't even think about it. I was just like, I want a specific IP address for my Windows 7 VM. And it's kind of cool because I can remote desktop right to it. I don't even have to touch the server. It's a box, you know.
Well, that's the recommended way for running the Hyper-Vs. You have the management adapter, which is dedicated to the host OS, and then you have one or more dedicated adapters for Hyper-V.
Awesome. See, I did one thing right. Woohoo! So I have a dedicated. The motherboard NIC is for the host OS, and I have a dual NIC that I used for my Windows 7. I was thinking about loading up either Windows 7 or a Windows 8 VM and using it just for Plex. You know, dedicating some hardware for it for Plex, so it doesn't interfere with my media center if it was to spike and need RAM or something. So crazy.
Well, it's a good way to limit it from basically grinding the system to a halt.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It can grind
The
its
other
own
thing I
system
like
to a
about
halt.
what I like about dual NIC cards is if you're running Server 2012 Essentials, is you have that option to use where you teaming right out the box there. I think you can just click the little box and take advantage of that.
Yep.
That's definitely never
Yeah,
thought
it's a
about
pretty
that.
neat little option.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
But I wonder with people there, like you're talking about VM and stuff like that. Now that Windows XP is like out the door, it's done. It's baked, it's out. If, in a way, like don't really use it. Maybe the fact that if people have like they're running Hyper-V and they need for some reason to run XP, run it as a VM. And then if at some point a week or whatever you figure, okay, maybe I got hacked or it's maybe something that, then you just wipe it and refresh a new install, and then just kind of go from there. I think that might be a good way to play around with XP if you want to continue using it.
Absolutely. If you just have to, you could load up a little XP VM, which would be great.
Because like some companies, I don't see like a company running like maybe Windows 7 or Windows 8 as a VM in the background. It's like they're not like us, playing around. They're using it for corporate wise, but maybe there is an app that they happen to be using that they say, well, we need this crappy old box to run, I don't know, our X-ray software, for taking X-ray, and a lot of these softwares run on XP, so it's like, okay, we need install instead of putting an older machine, to an old box or Intel or dual core or whatever, run an XP VM on the big box, and then put XP and then put your software on there. And one guy was talking about in the forums, I think a while ago, I saw he was running some truck driving like tickets, for some like some software where you issue a ticket to the drivers and this and that software was sort of like written for XP. So he's like, well, how do I do that since I have a Windows Home server? So one of his suggestions was, yeah, okay, run that software in. If you can't run it on server 2008 R2 or 2012, then go to the VM road. So there you go.
There you go. So back to my notes. I had some like systematic things I wanted to do. So what I did first, and you don't have to follow my madness. I'm just going to tell you some of the things I did in order to keep things straight in my brain and in my drives, remembering that I'm not in a terrible hurry. So I don't have to build this house in a day. I can take my time. So I did put in that extra NIC. I put in a USB 3 card, and I put in I have a little Rocket Raid dual port SATA card. So I put that in there as well. I purchased, my only purchase so far has been a Blu-ray drive. So I've got this Media Center server that's acting up. I've got the Windows Home Server 2011 that's acting up. And I've bought parts for it, and I said, you know what? I'm not even going to put time and effort into fixing these. I'm going to move forward. So instead of futzing around with those things, I'm trying to move forward and futz around with this new box. So I gathered up everything that I have, and I had 3 SSD drives laying around. One from my old, or 2 from my old desktop, and 1 laying around actually. So I've got the OS. I put 1 SSD in and loaded the OS, got it running, got it updated, and then I'm doing this all like power off and install a brand new one. So that way I know, the first drive I installed the OS on is in this spot. I wrote it down. I know where it's at in case I need to pull it out. I put in my second SSD, booted up, formatted it and everything, and then just mirrored. I just did a software mirror, guys. Nothing complicated. The two SSDs they're so fast. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything because I'm doing software mirroring. But that makes me feel a little bit better about doing that. Now, the other thing I did is I didn't consult anybody on this. I didn't really talk with anyone, but I put in the third SSD drive, 120 gigabyte drive, and then I labeled it. I don't know what I labeled it. VM drive or something. So, and then I went in and I installed Hyper-V. Because when you install Hyper-V, it says, where do you want to put your, what do you call it, VM images, your hard drive images, and there's 2 folders that it asks you to pick, and I pointed those to the SSD drive. So when I boot my Windows 7 VM, man, it flies. I mean, it just flies. Now, I guess I would ask you guys, I don't know if that's a waste of resources or not. Should I have done that? Should I have not done that? I have no clue.
Well, it really depends on the performance you want out of the system. And since it sounds like you wanted it for the media center stuff, then I don't think it's a waste.
Okay. Yeah. I wanted it to be zippy. Now, here's the obvious thing that you're thinking right now. Well, this is media center, and you're going to record TV on it. Well, you're not going to record TV to this SSD. That's not going to work. So what I want to do is, and I'll refer to you guys because I haven't gotten this far yet, is I want to put in a 2 terabyte spinner, and I would like that spinner to be, maybe I do know how to do this because I do it with Windows Home Server, but if it's recognizable to both systems, both the server and the Windows 7 Media Center box. Now, how I do it today is Media Center records TV, saves it on a local drive. When it's done, it does that. You can have Media Center transfer your newly recorded files to your Windows Home Server, and that's what it does. It just automatically transfers to Windows Home Server, and that's where it stores the files. But I would like to put in a 2 terabyte spinner in that server and have both the Windows 7 Media Center see that drive and the server be able to see and use that drive at the same time.
See, Dave, on my PC, I have my system drive is a 60 gig SSD, and I put in a 320 gig. That's the smallest one. Spinning drive I could find is I use that as my recorded TV folder. So yeah, when it records, because it's always being used, sure. It's like don't waste up don't waste up the SSD drive. And the thing is also when I do the backups, but you can still say when you back up the PC, don't include the recorded TV folder, But yeah, I like to keep it on a spinning drive. And like you said before, the Windows Home Server 2011, when you install the connector, it'll install that Media Center software, which will grab it from there and then toss it onto the server. Or if you're running Windows Home Server version 1, there's recorded TV Manager, and then there's a TV Manager add-in which will start grabbing it in there. Originally, I used to say, record it right to the server, but sometimes if you had some network issues, you could run into problems. So it's always good to have like a landing zone on your PC, mm-hmm. and a good drive. Like you don't need you're saying 2 terabyte drives. I would say 2 terabyte. If it's gonna grab the stuff off the content and throw it on the server, then you don't really need a big drive. And you don't really need a big drive.
Well, here's my thing. I'm out of ports.
That would
I'm out of ports. I would like to be able to put it in there and have both play with it. Is that possible?
Not really.
Not really.
Well, the 2 options are either create a virtual hard drive on the 2 terabyte drive, mm-hmm. and use that for the virtual machine. It doesn't have to be in that virtual hard drive folder that when you create the role. The other option is setting the disk offline, and that lets you pass through the entire disk to the guest or to the VM. But that means it's not accessible to the host operating system.
Right.
Which obviously isn't what you want to do.
But as a media center, I could still share that if I passed it through.
Yeah, it shows up as a normal hard drive.
Share its recorded TV folder to my other media centers in the house.
Yeah, when you pass it through, it shows the entire drive as a normal drive, where you have to initialize it and format it and everything like normal. And if you put the drive back online in the host system, you can see all the files and stuff that it saved to it. So it literally is passing it through to the virtual machine.
Okay. So once you put it offline, you format it in the VM. You use
Yeah.
it in the VM. But if you put it back online, it's not visible within in the VM anymore.
No, specifically when you put it offline, you have to go to the add a virtual hard drive, and then it shows create a virtual hard drive or a physical disk, and it has a drop down list with all the offline disks, and then you select that and then apply, and then it'll show up in the virtual machine.
Okay. So new hard disk.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a wizard, new virtual hard disk wizard within the Hyper-V manager. So I'll play with that. That's good information to know.
The other option is, like I said, creating the virtual hard drive on the 2 terabyte drive, and for that I would recommend creating a fixed size one. Will immediately use up that entire space, and it will take a while to create, but you'll get a little bit better performance out of it than the normal dynamically expanding drive.
So create a fixed drive.
The fixed sized drive, yeah.
And I would use that as the landing zone. It would record data. Say maybe I'll carve out like a 300 gig drive for it.
Yeah.
And then use the media center wizardry in which to transfer recorded files to the server.
Yeah,
And then
that
I'd
would.
have about a terabyte and a half. Once I clear off the spouse's Winter Olympics files that she will not delete, I'll have all my room back. So back when the Olympics were on, I had to put in a drive in the server just to hold the Olympics.
Huge files, 3
Yeah.
hour blocks each.
Yeah, in HD.
Yeah.
In HD. So I kind of got ahead of myself in my installation path. So I put in my 2 OS drives mirrored. I put in my Hyper-V role. I put in my Hyper-V drive. Before I did that, I did install the Essentials role. And that went without a hitch. That was very easily done. Very easily done. I installed the VM. Worked perfectly. You guys are all pros, probably listening. You know about installing VMs. So I won't bore you with that. If you do have questions, please just jump out in the forums, ask me questions. These guys will probably know the answer before I do. So please ask. Installed Windows 7, updated for like a day. It's got to install its updates. The coolest thing, it's just very cool using VMs. Having that Windows 7 window right in there and being able to remote desktop directly to it is just the coolest thing in the world. And I installed. You just start installing your stuff. It's just like you put a box down in the basement and you're just remote desktop into it. I installed IHome Run, so it's got its TV. It's ready to go. I haven't put it online yet. Told it here's the shows that I want you to get, and I haven't done all that good stuff because I need that. I need that landing drive before I do anything crazy.
Make a suggestion for the landing drive.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the Western Digital purple drives. They're meant for surveillance, but they're great for a lot of multiple I/O requests at the same time.
Media
So
drives.
it'd be great for a Hyper-V drive.
Yeah.
So if you
guys are out there talking. Oh yeah, that's only in 2011. So the guys are already correcting me. Only in 2011 do you get the option of automatically moving media center files. So yeah, not many folks with essentials running want to move media center files. It's a kind of a business.
So you write a couple PowerScript tasks to do that, right, John?
There's already links in the show notes about using DVRMS Toolbox. I will put those links in the show notes. If you find yourself in this situation and you want to move media center files around, like me, we will suffer through this together. I will tell you exactly how I'm tearing it up or not tearing it up. So
There's a couple of good server like a media TV apps to look at. What is the one there? Those guys that I think it's TV Manager, TV Media. It's not Media Browser, Media
what is
TV
that guy's
Browser.
name?
Something.
Rick? Recorded
Yeah,
TV
Rick.
Manager?
Well, yeah, Recorded TV Manager is Drash. Is there,
Drash. Yeah.
Rick Drash. Yeah. And but that's the version 1. But I still use it. I mean, I have that. That's something I toss depending what computer I'm running there. Sometimes I'll run either TV Manager by the add-in for version 1 by Brent Friedman, or Rick Drash has his Recorded TV Manager. And then he also, like when Windows 2011 kind of came around, he made like a third-party app, so you can just you can install that on your PC. Recorded TV Manager 3, and he has Recorded TV Manager 4, which is a $10 app. So that'll move your stuff over to your version 1 home server or your 2011 server. And then, but there's another add-in or server. There's a version. I think it's called maybe somebody in the chat can help me out. I think it's called Recorded, or it's TV Manager. But you run a server version on Windows Home Server 2011. Well, it's made like one of the operating systems it supports is Server 2008, which is what Windows Home Server and Small Business Server 2011 Essentials is running. So you can run this server app on your server, and you can connect, like, let's say you have those the TV tuner cards or the network TV tuner cards. So this app will, it'll record TV shows on your server. So it's being done there instead of having your PC running. It's being done on your server, and then you have a desktop app, and you also have a Windows 8 app, which so the Windows 8 app is nice. You look, you see a nice display. Have all your squares of all your TV shows, and it's pointing to the server. So I think one of the guys, remember last time when you did a Plex, you did the podcast on Plex. Somebody I suggested and to make another podcast talking about this one there. I think it's Media Browser.
You mean Media TV Portal?
Browser. No, not Media Portal. Media Browser, Media TV. I think there was the name TV was in the name, but I know it's
Sage
it's a version
TV?
that you could run. What's that?
Sage TV?
No, maybe recorded HD TV. We'll have to ask those guys. Come on, guy, chat room, help me out over there.
Help us out. We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, but that would be a good option.
Yep, I'm gonna have to find something. We'll figure it out. Let's see. So I got the media center all configured. It's ready to go, except for that one little thing, which is kind of becoming a big thing. But we'll figure that out. And I went ahead and installed My Movies. Now I installed My Movies, guys, on the server. And I got to think. I was like, well, is this gonna spit back at me, thinking this is 2008 server or 2012 server and not an essential server? But it just installed right away. Took right off, went right into the dashboard, and My Movies is active. I installed Any DVD, and that went right into My Movies. And I've yet to do any ripping, but I definitely want to try some. I've kind of backed up on my ripping tasks, saving my DVDs to the server, so that's what I definitely want to do. And that's been kind of I've kind of last week I mentioned my list again of all the stuff that is running on my 2011, all the cloud stuff that I want to take one by one. I think that I'm going to possibly tonight, guys, I'll probably take my DVD directory and drag it over and copy that thing over to the new box. I'll probably just start one by one.
Queue it for overnight.
Yeah, just do it. Do it while you sleep, right?
Well, it's probably gonna take a few hours, so yeah, probably.
Yeah, it's probably going to take a few hours. So that's probably what I'll do now. So I've got my two SSDs mirrored. I've got my little VM SSD, but I don't have any pool drives. I haven't done any extra drives up to this point. So I decided it's time. Powered it off, and I like to keep things organized because when you don't ever want to like miss a drive or miss a port. I want to use it efficiently as I can. And so I plugged in the two 3 terabytes and the two 2 terabytes and booted up, and then installed StableBit Scanner and StableBit Drive Pool. So once I did that, I went into the dashboard, and guess what I saw? Guess what I saw? I didn't see just 4 drives, guys. I saw 5 drives. I saw the 5th drive. The 5th drive was the actual pool that I created a month ago on Server Essentials 2012 that I just turned off. I just turned it off. Pulled those 4 drives out and stuck them aside, and then started playing with other things. And I pulled those 4 drives back, put them in, and installed a new server operating system with StableBit Drive Pool and StableBit Scanner, and turned it on, and boom, all that information was just back right in front of me. I'm like, wow, there's all my test information in the pool that I created, my 9 terabyte pool that I created a month ago, and it was a pleasant surprise. It wasn't a pleasant surprise in the fact that I wanted to get my data back, but it was a pleasant surprise thinking, wow, if my motherboard dies, my CPU burns a hole through my case, as long as those 4 drives are intact, I just put them in a new server and install StableBit. Now, Chris, you work for StableBit. Is that how it's supposed to happen?
Yep, that's exactly how it's supposed to happen. The only caveat there is you need to reshare the folders with the essentials. Also, if it came from a different system, the permissions may be off, but if you're using essentials, once you've set up the users and set the permissions for those folders, it will automatically reset those to be appropriate for the new system.
Okay. Well, I was happy to see it, but I went into File Manager and just deleted it all. And I created brand new shares. I'm starting from scratch. I like to keep it nice and clean.
Well, if it was test data, then nothing important.
It was maybe 1 or 2 rips and a little, 1 or 2 files and everything. A little music, little pictures, a couple of movies, some MPEGs, just test data, just playing. But I was real happy to see that. Now, here's my question to you. Had I had on, let's say I put in folder duplication, which I hadn't done, and I still haven't done. If I turned on folder duplication and maybe I put in 3 drives, would I still be able to get that data back?
Depending on where the data was stored, yeah.
It should be on 2 different drives. I pull one out, right?
Yeah, if you have like all the stuff, like all of it duplicated, then if you're missing 1 disk, then you'd be able to recover all the data.
Right. That's what I figured. And that's in version 1 style, right, John?
It's in version 1 and version 2, yeah.
Yeah. I had my mute on there, Dave.
I've been talking too much. But I don't know. It's a pleasant surprise to kind of go back to that drive extender days and not having to worry about a RAID card, not having to worry about something breaking and going haywire and having to rebuild
The
the
storage
whole
manager
array.
being screwed up, or I don't know if you've seen it, but we got served. I have a tutorial on how to migrate to a new system.
Okay.
Um, because I did it too many times, it got annoying, and it happened enough to other people that it just sometimes the drive extender would just break, and even reinstalling it, doing the recovery or whatever, wouldn't fix the issue. You'd basically have to clear out the drive pool stuff and then create a brand new pool. And sometimes just moving to different hardware would cause that, like a different
Yeah,
controller,
I
or like
remember. It could be messy.
could
Could be.
be.
It was a great little system for what it was.
As long as you didn't change the hardware configuration at all.
Yep. Back then there was no other system. That was it. You were either, build your own server with RAID running whatever operating system, server 2003, server 2008.
Or go with Linux and get your hands really dirty.
Get really dirty in it. Yep. So that was cool. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, definitely. And
I haven't done hardly anything else. I need to start copying data and migrating services. Because God, it's going to be a mess. Like, I need to copy over the photos. And then as soon as I copy over the photos, I need to set up crash plan. And, it's going to be a mess.
well, if it helps, there is a trick that we kind of recommend for seeding a new pool.
Okay.
Uh, Basically, if you add the drive to the pool, it creates a hidden pool part folder. Then if you move the contents of the disk into that folder, it will show up on the pool immediately. Though you'll want to remeasure the pool, that way it updates the information about it properly.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do you
that's how I
have,
used to get my content over, is because like let's say I backed up. I used to do that with version 1. Okay, it's a little complicated. Version 1, Windows Home Server version 1, you can back up your shares to a drive that you put. You say use this drive as a backup drive. So you put your shares and it copies everything there and it keeps it as an NTFS folder. So what happens is now you can take that. I would take that drive. So I would, let's say, back up all my videos. Then I would take that drive out. I would put it in another server. And then I would say, okay, add the server to drive pool, and then it creates, like Chris says, it creates a pool part folder, and in that pool part folder is you start to put your shares. So then I would just take that all those shares that I got from Windows Home Server version 1, which are named the same as I would add like a converted videos folder, or pictures folder, and all. I just grab that whole folder, the shares folder, and then drop it into the pool part folder. And then all your content is there. Like you said, just like re-index it or whatever, let it do its thing. So then it gets going. But because sometimes people would say, okay, I'm going to put that drive there as a backup drive, and now I'm going to move it, onto the server into the shared folders. It's like no, just copy the files to there from into the pool part folder, and it's a quick way of doing that. So yeah.
It's quick and dirty. We don't recommend it for normal. Like if you're doing that all the time, it can definitely cause issues. But if you're like moving over from one system to another and need to seed the pool, it's very quick, very simple, and it doesn't take like 6 hours to copy all your data over. And I've added a link for the guide that we have for moving version 1 over to Drive Pool, and it's basically the same process.
Okay. I will. All the links we're talking about, and the guys in the chat are coming up with some links as well. I will get those in the show notes. So you're interested in following up on this, please check the show notes.
Yeah, Dave Rennie was pointing out there that the program I was talking about is Media Browser version 2. I guess it's the second version. So they have the server version for TV recording your TV or creating a server TV tuner. Like with the network tuner cards, have the server running there. And then what's nice is, like I said, with the if you're running Windows 8, then you also have a media browser Windows 8 app that you can go and get your content. Just like how you were talking, you use Plex. Well, you also have a Windows 8 Plex app, which is nice. And then you have your iPad apps and iPhone apps for Plex.
I will definitely do that. All right, Dresta's got that link out there. Adding data to the drive pool. There's a wiki, and I will put that in the show notes. I'm gonna go through all this and see how I can make my life easier. I'm also gonna have to do that. I have my data in so many places, guys. I copy it to CrashPlan. I copy it to LiveDrive. I copy it to copy.com, and I have it on an external drive off my Windows Home server, and I every night do compares and copies, and it copies over to an external Synology NAS. Actually, a couple of my directories check every 2 hours. I use Cloudberry for that. We've been talking about Cloudberry for the last couple of months. But I use Cloudberry to check, depending on the importance of the share and the data within that share, like photos, I check every 2 hours. So that way, if, I do have a server failure, I'm more apt to get my stuff back and get it back 100% than I am if I was just doing nightly or a weekly run. I like to do it every couple hours.
And speaking of all that data everywhere, one of the reasons why I really do like Server 2012 R2 Essentials is the folder redirection feature for the domain users.
Okay.
If you log into the domain account on the client computers, which is only if you've joined the domain, and you've enabled the folder redirection option, all the user folders actually sit on a network share on the server. It also sets the offline file sync for those folders, so you could take like your tablet remotely, still be able to have those files, and then when you get back home, it syncs them back to the server.
Okay.
So and then if you have the multiple different computers, you log into the account and you'll see the same files on each of the different computers.
That's pretty cool.
It's very cool.
Offline syncing there.
It's part of the implement group policies feature for Essentials.
Okay. Let me look.
Dave, one of the things I wanted to cover with Cloudberry Backup is, you know how some guys, Windows Home Server version 1, I'll give an example. Windows Home Server version 1, when you wanted to back up your shares, there was a built-in, if you added a drive in your server and then you would go and say in the console, you would say, use this as a backup drive, then it would show up in the computers and backups, and then you could say you can now tick which drives, and depending on how many backup drives you put, you can select which shares back up to which shares would back up to which drive, and that's a built-in thing, and it goes, and it's an NTFS format. So again, the drives, you could take them out if your server died or whatever, you could put them in your PC, you could get your content there. So that was a good way. Like I tend to not really use folder duplication in version 1. I just back up my shares because folder duplication doesn't protect me from accidentally deleting a file. If I delete it if I say delete the file, it'll delete it in both places. Whereas backing up the files, if I delete it, say, then I could go to the backup, say, bring it back. But the thing is, with Windows Home Server 2011, the backup doesn't work that way. Remember how we talk about the 2 terabyte limit? No. That's because what it does is it doesn't do like version 1, which is the NTFS, like files and backup, and it copies it to the drive. What it does is it does an image backup. So the built-in VHD or however they do it, they say, okay, need to back up your files. It creates, but what it does over version 1 is it backs up the OS. So it allows you to back up the OS, and then you can pick your shares. But then the problem is, you can't go over you can't select more than 2 terabytes of stuff. So this is one of the things I suggested was to use Cloudberry Backup, the add-in. So there's a version 1 add-in, there's a 2011 add-in, and there's a 20 Small Business Server 2011. So there's a bunch of different add-ins, and that add-in is always being updated, so which is a good thing. And they allow for not only online backup to like Azure or Amazon, but they also allow you to back up to a USB drive. So what's nice there is now if you have 2 terabytes or 4 terabytes of shared folders, you can use that add-in to say back up those shares to an external RAID box or to a local USB drive and stuff like that. And since it's a paid add-in, it's actually more. They give you more choices. There's more granularity of what to back up, and it's also scheduled. Whereas version 1, I find that when you do the backups, I found that if I close the console sometimes, then I turned it back on. It's like all of a sudden, for some reason, the backups they failed to complete. Whereas this guy, the Cloudberry backup, the console could be closed, open or closed, and it's running in the background, and it's running also on a schedule. Make sure the drive is powered up. If you're running it Friday nights at 10, make sure that the drive is plugged in and powered up, or else you can set a checkbox to say, well, then if it fails the backup, the next time you see the drive, then back up. So I know that topic had come up a few times again in the forums where guys are talking about that 2 terabyte limit and stuff. So my suggestion is always use Cloudberry Backup.
Well, for the server backup stuff, the version 1 basically it was a file copy, and then it linked the duplicate files, and I believe it was actually run by the console itself. So yeah, if that closed, it would end the process. The Cloudberry and the server backup in 2011 is run as a background service, independent of the dashboard. Also, the 2 terabyte limit that John's referring to, and part of how the backup works, is it relies on the Windows Server backup role, which uses virtual hard drives to those VHD files, the same ones that Hyper-V uses, to create the images of the system. So they're incremental, but they're a lot harder to access. And in Server 2008 R2, which is what Home Server 2011 is based on, is they're limited to 2,040 gigabytes. So you can't have a volume larger than that to back up.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, and also when you did the backup, like you say, because they're VHD backups, if you take that drive and now you plug it in another computer, you say, okay, I want to restore a file or I want to see a file, you can't see it because it's a VHD. You have to have a program to open it up. Whereas the Cloudberry backup does it NTFS files, so you'll see them.
You can take it to another server and restore it that way, but you have to use the actual server backup console, I believe, and then you can recover the files that way.
Yeah.
But it has to be a server OS.
So there you go.
Okay.
That's my workaround for backing up your files.
Now, since you're on backups, yeah, I'll use Cloudberry. Cloudberry, like you said, John, they have a version for version 1. 2011 and Essentials, and I'll step up to that. It's become indispensable for me. As for, I've got a home server. My server is in one area of the house. My NAS is in another area of the house. So hopefully, if there were if there was a fire or water damage or something, I've got 2 exact duplicates of my information, my movies and pictures and all that good stuff, all in 2 different areas. So hopefully that would work. And also I've got it on Crash Plan or something, but I hope to never have to pull things down from there. That's the data. But if I want to bring up a new server, I'm pretty confident with my StableBit, my choice to go with StableBit. Pretty confident with that. But if I want to restore my server and all my bits and bytes and pieces and not have to redo everything, what measures do I take in which to do that? I can...
Windows Server Backup will work to do that. It has the bare metal backup feature for it, and I've actually used that several times. And the 2012 and R2 versions are not limited to that 2 terabytes. They support something obscenely large. I think it was like 16 petabytes
Oh, really?
per volume. So, uh, however, it does rely on VSS, the shadow copy stuff. I know StableBit Drive Pool doesn't support that, and I think the Drive Bender was having issues getting it supported 100% in their betas.
Okay.
But if you have some
wanna
kind
just-
of if in that VSS, if you have some corrupted files or something, I mean, is the whole thing like lost? Or you can still recover stuff that's not corrupted, or it's like some backup solutions, like something gets messed up, one file, the whole thing is garbage. Is
It
that the
depends
case?
on which file gets corrupted, but yeah, like I was saying, it uses the incremental virtual hard drives for the backups. So if one of those got corrupted, then yeah, you could potentially lose everything. However, the server backup does support cycling out multiple drives. So you have to have all of them connected when you set it up, but you could have like 2, 3, 4 hard drives set up, and then just have like 1 or 2 on site, and then cycle those out like every week. Which
But
would
you're not married to one specific drive like you were back in 2011. It was one drive and one drive only.
no, you're not. It's not just the one drive. You can
Okay.
have the multiple drives, but like I said, you have to have all of them attached when you set it up.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a trick, Dave. That's the important thing is
That's
when you
the
first
trick.
set it up. If you're doing it for a company, you're saying, okay, we're gonna have 3 drives that we're gonna rotate. You can't say, well, we'll buy drive 1 now and drive 2 in a month. You have to put those 3 drives there, set it all up, and then from then it's like, okay, tomorrow just plug in drive 1, and Wednesday plug in drive 2, and so forth. But to start off, you have to have those 3 drives available, or you have to make a new plan. If you buy a 4th drive, then you have to say, okay, let's scrap all that stuff and now create a new, like a backup plan. There's 4 drives,
Well, it
and you
doesn't
start with
necessarily
4.
scrap them, but you do
You have
have to
to,
reconfigure it with all of
yeah,
them attached.
you do it.
Okay. Now I'm a little shy on SATA ports, fellas. Can I couple of USB 3 drives and plug them all in?
Yeah, actually, it doesn't want to let you use internal drives for the backup by default. There is a trick to do that, but it wants you to use external drives.
Okay. It wants to make sure you're taking them home. Okay.
I really recommend the Seagate Backup Plus drives, the ones that have the removable dock for it.
Okay.
Because you just pull the hard drive part out, and then you can easily switch the drive that way.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, another question. What about network storage? Can I point this somewhere? Maybe I could even do like an iSCSI to my Synology box, or yes, no, maybe.
For the backup,
Yeah.
actually, you could definitely do iSCSI. That would require that trick that I was referring to, which means you have to go to the actual server backup uh, console in the control panel, the system and settings, and then administrator tools. You'd have to open that and then create the uh, backup schedule. And then when it gets to the section where it asks for which hard drives you want to use,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have any USB ones, it will show an empty list. And then there's a button at the bottom of the window that says something like show all drives.
Yeah.
And then you can force which ones to show up.
Yeah,
Also,
that's it. Which is like you say, yeah, it's a remote desktop connection, right? So you don't have access to that through the dashboard, but you could go, like you say, if you remote into it, then you go into the options, setting administrative tools, or
Yeah.
is that administrative tools? Yeah, and then
Yes.
backup, and then there you start to see, and you can modify the plan, or you can, like you say, add maybe a network location or a different type of
Yeah.
drive. Yeah, scan for hardware. I think there's an option, scan for drives or something. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But yeah.
The issue with that is it becomes a lot more difficult to restore from a backup if it's over the network like that.
Yeah.
You'd want to use just a regular network share, not necessarily the iSCSI, because to restore, you'd actually have to be able to access that volume also.
Mhm.
And I can dig up the link I have for adding iSCSI support to the recovery environment, but it's long and involved and not really worth it. It's just simpler to grab a hard drive and
Probably keep it USB for the simple solution.
10 times easier.
All right. Guys are showing up in the chat normal time for Surface Geeks. We decided that I was way too excited about next week's Surface event, and we're just going to do Home Server Show this week. We're going to keep the boys, those Surface Geeksers, keep them in their caves and call them once the new gear hopefully is announced. We'll know next week. We'll know next week, so stay tuned on that. What I was going to ask you, backing up the VMs, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Backing up the server, am I backing up my VMs? Do I get that little tree to choose what I want to back up? And important, am I going to be able to back up the client backups? You know, there's a folder, client backups. I want to make sure I get those offline somewhere.
For Hyper-V, if you set it up through the dashboard, no, there's no option to back it up. However, again, if you use the Windows Server console, it does actually list the Hyper-V host configuration and then each and every single virtual machine to back it up from within the virtual machine. Also, if you back up the virtual hard drives, that should be fine as well. So you just back up whatever drive they're on.
Okay. It looks like I really need to get that role installed, server backup, and start playing.
It's already installed as part of Essentials.
Okay.
That's what the server backup option in the dashboard, that's actually what it uses. It hooks into that. So
I've got that.
Yep.
I just need to go into store
Into
device
administrative tools.
and set a backup for the server.
Yep. And
I've also got Windows Azure.
I actually messed with that recently.
Mm-hmm.
Not only does it rely strictly on the VSS, the shadow copy stuff, it's limited to 864 gigabytes per volume. That's the maximum you can back up from a volume. And it'll actually error out if you have more than that.
Okay, so a full 2 terabyte drive?
Out of luck.
Okay.
Unless you slice it up into like 800 gigabyte sections.
So maybe just, how about your server? I bet my server volume would be able to go to Azure.
Yeah. The problem then is, how do you get it back?
You'd have to...
The Azure is meant more for backing up important data.
Right.
You could back up your virtual machines with it, as long as the volumes that they're on are small.
Okay.
But for data or the operating system, the host operating system, Azure is not really a good solution.
Yeah. There's a lot of different ways here. A lot of different ways.
So there's lots of options.
I was telling you guys before we went on the air, the Windows Server Essentials dashboard, this is where you control your, I'm going to say Windows Home Server, where you control your server. Has an Applications tab, and it has something called Microsoft Pinpoint. Pinpoint is the marketplace for Windows Server 2012 R2 Essentials. Helps business customers find software applications and other solutions that help solve specific business issues. Okay, it's an add-in store right there built into the dashboard. And I saw one called Altero Hyper-V Backup. I thought, hey, this looks cool. Might be able to back up some Hyper-Vs here. So I want to take a look at that, see exactly what they're charging these business customers. I'm sure
Not cheap.
I'm sure it's free. I'm sure they're just going to give it to me, right? So, but there's some other things in here that you'll recognize. Lights Out. We know those guys from way, way, way long ago. There's 5.9 Cloud Security for Hyper-V. Crazy. AAC, Advanced Admin Console. We've gone over that many, many years ago. Something we've talked about, I haven't talked about, but John and the BYOB guys really like the iHome server, which takes your iTunes to a new level on your Windows Home server.
So he's on that list now, Dave.
What's that?
iHome server. iHome server is on that list, that pinpoint, yeah?
I'm reading it right here.
Sweet.
It is on there.
He just so I'll add to that the guy Ed over at BizModeler, just this couple of days he added a version 3.160. So that's like the beta. That's the. I mean, you can buy them and stuff like that, but you still have a 30-day that you can try them out. So if you go and try the latest beta one there, 60, that one is giving you. The thing is, before what happened, it's for auto tagging your stuff, your MP3 files for iTunes, so it shows up, and then it shows up as a DLNA stuff, and it goes and gets auto tags them all. But something he added a feature, because before, let's say you had TV shows, and like every time you put new stuff in that folder, you actually have to go to that folder and you have to select the file that that it was added, like it'll show it, and then you'll say, yeah, okay, go and look for the data, and then it'll come up, it'll say, oh, this is whatever Blue Bloods season 5 episode 6, is that right? And you would click yes, and then it would get the metadata, and then it said you want to close, and you would close. So it was a bit of a manual labor. Even though it would go and get the data automatically, you still had to kind of go through each one, or select let's select the batch. Let's say season 5, it would say episode 1 to number 10. You would highlight them all. It would say, is this it? You would say yes, and then it would do its thing. Well, as of version 0.60, what you do is you select one of them and you say, this is the metadata. So he says yes, and so now what happens, it keeps that like in a list. So the next time you end up getting a new episode for that TV show, it'll just say, oh, okay, I know that's whatever 24 season 9, the next episode. I know what that like the pre-information is, and I'll get that in and I'll slap it in. So that's something that's been waiting for the longest time, is to have more, like even though it's auto tagging, it's more in depth. It's more like less hands off, because you want everything to be kind of automatic, right? I mean, that's what you want. Automatic means automatic.
Mm-hmm.
That's free. So there you go. There's an update. So if people want to play around with the iHome server.
And I tell you, the dashboard, the whole experience that I've had with 2012 Essentials so far has been a pretty good experience. I haven't pushed it. I barely put data on this thing, so take that with a grain of salt. But I've got the VM running on it. It's on an i7 motherboard. It's got 16 gigs of RAM, and so far so good. I have not set the server back up, and I'm going to do that. I can already tell you that I'm going to use Cloudberry as my data backup. And I'm going to do that over network. And I'm not going to rotate drives. I'm probably not going to rotate drives. Now, if I can come up with a couple of externals and a couple of extra drives, I have to kind of go back through my drive. I've got a stack. I got another stack. You can see it right there. There's another stack back there. There's a couple of 2 terabytes right up here. So I've got a couple more, but I also have 2 ports left on my motherboard. So,
well, what about an extra? If you run out of drives, do you have an external eSATA connection on your box?
Don't think this card. No, the card that I'm running right now does not have one. It's a simple Rocket RAID. But I've got a USB 3, a couple ports on there.
Yeah, USB 3 is usually faster, than the SATA eSATA.
I have a Sans Digital external case, and I have a couple of other little external cases. I've got a It's right here. I can't reach it. I think this is a 3 terabyte, John. It's a Seagate GoFlex. Yeah, 3 terabyte. But it's still has a plastic on it. I was
Hey,
using
Dave.
it.
Grab the bottom, pull the top on that drive.
Grab the bottom, pull. That's the damn thing that you were talking about, weren't you?
Yep.
So on video, you can see how
It's
I
a
had
SATA
no
power
clue
and
I'd bought
yeah.
this. Now I feel like a dolt. It's just a typical SATA connector here with the power.
Yep, and it's USB 3, and that's great for switching drives out if you do want to cycle them.
But I have to load them all at one time, you said.
Yes. Well, then you only need the one dock there.
So I load them all 3, and then I take off 2, but I just leave one little dock. And I just start rotating.
And if you want to be, well, naughty, I guess, is you can plug any normal hard drive into that dock.
But it's just relying on, it's just being supported by that connector, right?
What's that?
It's just the drive is only being supported on the connector. Like if you would plug the, a drive right into that, it's only relying. There's no like housing around it.
Right. There's nothing to. You're gonna have to lay it down.
There's a couple pins to connectors to grab onto the shell for the drive, but
like you say, a quick dirty way to plug in your drive there.
Yeah, it plugs in. I just have to. Yeah, you have to support it some way. The easiest way would be to set it on the table like that. It would be temporary, obviously. It would be temporary.
But a great way to grab that data off of somebody's hard drive that you're working real quick.
Yeah, real quick. I always have to go get my. I have an IC dock. I have to get out and get the power connector for it. But I always have this thing sitting right here. Well, I learned something every dang podcast. I had no idea that this was hiding on the bottom.
And sometimes you go and you buy a 3 terabyte drive with the casing and everything. Usually the drives are cheaper, in an enclosure than buying the drive separately. So then you can just throw the boxes out and just keep those connectors. They'll have a drive and the connectors.
One problem with that, I mean, if you're being real cheap, yeah, great. Except for I have 2 drives in my server, which I did that with, and they're both, well, most of the drives in my server are like that, but 2 of them are failing. But since I've pulled them out of the enclosures, they're no longer under warranty. Yeah. So I'm pretty much SOL with them.
But I tend to think, that's the thing is people say, hey, how come the drives, when you buy them in an enclosure, they're cheaper than if you buy them separate? And I'm kind of wondering there, maybe the reason they put them in these USB drives is because, how they run the drives, and they probably run some kind of test, and they say, oh, these drives are not like up to par, so we're going to put them in USB enclosures because now the transfer speed is less because they're USB as opposed to directly connected to the SATA connections.
But they're USB 3. So you'll get about 120 megabytes per second off of them. Yeah. That, and it's at least the ones I have, they're all the ST3000DM00. Okay. So they're regular desktop drives. So
it was a great conspiracy theory, John.
So it's not a desktop drive. Yeah, that's where I was going. That's why. Yeah, you were with me.
Yeah.
It's OEM versus retail is the.
It's like the oranges that look pretty that they put on the shelf for you to buy versus the natty, gross-looking oranges that they squeeze up for orange juice. That's how it works.
There you go.
That's how it works. All right. So I know we're gonna be back here because I'm gonna try to back up this server and run into all kinds of crap probably. But I'm telling you what I'm going to probably do is set up an external drive and back up the server, back up the client backups, and I'm going to use Cloudberry for the data. And Cloudberry is going to transfer that to my NAS, and the dashboard I'll obviously rely on, or not the dashboard, but CrashPlan and my other, online services, cloud services will do the rest for me. So
Dave, you should
Gotta
also
get those.
try. Have you tried making a USB key, a restore key, a PC restore key?
No.
No, because that's nasty. See Chris smiling over there because he knows where I'm going there. Windows Home Server 1, you said make the backup the key or whatever. Boom, it was fast. You add your CD or you downloaded the file, you burn it to a
Right.
USB. Boom. There, these guys, and even in Windows Home Server 2011, the key went fast. Created the 512 meg key. These guys, no, you have to go and download this big 2 gigabyte, 2 or 3 gigabyte
Yeah.
image. So you have to have your internet connection has to be working. You have to download that, install it. It does its thing. I'm not sure if you need a server reboot or
All
whatever.
right, where do you get it? Start me off.
It's the Windows 8.1 ADK Assessment and Deployment Kit. It's meant for
computer.
No. Well, yes and no. I think you can actually download it, the actual restore thing, but specifically what it does is it requires you to download and install the ADK once, and once you do that, it will create a image for it. You need it for either to create the USB key, but that also means that it's an up-to-date Windows 8.1 image, or the alternative thing, which I think John was trying to get out there, is one of the things they added to R2 Essentials is it uses Windows deployment services to create the restore image, and that you can use the PXE booting. Probably seen the LAN boot ROM thing on your computer when there's no other bootable drives.
Mm-hmm.
If you boot to that, it will actually connect to the Windows deployment services server, pull down the client restore image, and run that directly on the system. No disks needed, other than what you're restoring to.
I like that.
I was doing that in Small Business Server 2011 Essentials. Hacked it together myself. And yeah, it works real great. You don't need any disks. You don't need to worry about finding anything. You just boot from the network, select the restore image, and then you're set. It goes through the wizard just like normal.
All right. Links.
So it's important to get that done, Dave, because when your wife's laptop busts and then you figure, oh, it's 5 minutes, I'll create a USB key. You boot up her PC and away I go. You find out, no, I got this process first you got to do. And then after, then it's easy.
You tell me this after I make the decision to move my server from 2011.
I don't think you can restore. Yeah, you can use Chris. You can use the if you did it with 2011 restore.
It has to be with the Small Business Server 2011 Essentials. It can't be with Home Server. It requires Active Directory, which Home Server didn't have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, give me some linkage. Put in the show notes. That's your homework, Christopher Courtney. For Drashna. He's already digging it out.
Already got it, yep.
It's probably in his notes somewhere. I'll get that out there. If anything these guys have talked about tonight or that I've brought up, we'll have some show notes for you. Head out to homeservershow.com. Take a look at that. We've got a lot of links showed up while we were getting into this. So I'm sure, guys, that I could probably end it here. We're pushing an hour and a half, and we could talk. We can come back. We can talk more backups. We can talk about the migration from Windows Home Server 2011, about all the things I'm doing about migrating, and we can talk about some best practices and tips. I know that you guys have kind of talked me through quite a bit of that, but I know there's probably plenty more to talk about. We've talked about the network cards and all that kind of good stuff. Backups seem to be a pretty big topic.
It's a very important one.
Yeah. There's kind of why we're here, kind of why we've done 260 some odd podcasts talking about those little things called backups. But with this server, it's a lot different. It's a new world, and you guys have blazed this trail without me. I kind of got used to my 2011 just working fine.
Well, if it's working and you don't necessarily need to upgrade, then it's perfectly fine. It's just...
Yeah, and you can test all you want, But until you place it, in an actual working environment, and I'm not talking about a, business and a job. I'm talking about, your stuff. Until you actually put it in place, because you take extra care of that stuff. Until you do that, you learn a lot. I mean, I can't tell you how many server essentials I've had up and running. I've brought up, torn down, brought up, torn down. Tons, literally tons of servers. I got my N54L back here in pieces. I still haven't put that thing together. Still got to figure out something to do with that. But I've loaded so many things on that thing. I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you how many times I've loaded these things. USB sticks all around this place with bootable OSs. Kind of crazy. But until you put your data on the line, you just don't know what you're going to go through. So hopefully some of this is helping, giving you some ideas, maybe even turning you back. Maybe you just want to go back to 2011. Maybe you just want to take a look. It's all too much. You just want to go with a NAS. End it. I've thought of that. I've thought about that so many times, John. I'm just going to stick with my Synology. Screw all these servers. Got too many motherboards, power supplies. It's crazy. But
yeah, well, Dave, sometimes people moving to more tablets and stuff like that, they might, and when Microsoft allows you to do that, refresh the PC, so they might say, well, I don't really need a server to back up, so like backup seems to be less. It's like refresh, and back in the day, people had all kinds of software on their PC, so it was really pretty much customized. But now people are like, yeah, the built-in stuff is all I need, so and I can do a refresh, and there you go. So sometimes it's like, okay, maybe you don't need to back up, but what I do like about the server is, okay, well then now use it more for keeping your content, because if you have like a tablet, now you're not storing all, you don't have all kinds of terabytes of storage space over there, so you have to be connected wirelessly to to your server. If you have a high-speed internet, but some places, and some people in different, like in the UK or whatever, maybe it's high-speed internet is more expensive, or Netflix or this or that, so it's like, okay, let's use the server to have your content, your media, but then you kind of tend to play around with it and maybe fine-tune some stuff. But when you go for like a NAS, like you say, a Synology, it's a bit like, you set it and forget it. You don't have to watch it. The only thing is, I find sometimes the Synology boxes, the software is nice, but the like the CPU, what they kind of give you as for hardware, it's a little bit on the weak side, So if you have an alternative, you set up a microserver, well, even a microserver, maybe a Gen 8 with a little better CPU, and then you put some kind of NAS software on there, and then just use it, away you go.
Yeah, you know what? I would probably be in that camp. Right now, we've got a laptop and my Surface Pro 2. Now, granted, I've got PCs all over the place. I've got HTPCs, got the Media Center server. Those guys back up too, but I would probably fit very well into that model where I probably don't need a server. Yet, I always find myself having the need of a box doing some type of function for me. Case in point, my Windows Home Server 2011 logs into my websites, all of my WordPress websites, and checks for backups that have run on the web server. If there's backups there, it pulls them down. After it pulls them down, it removes them, so I can go on a vacation and not have to check, week in and week out, so I don't fill up the hard drives on my web servers. So I have little things that do that. I have a need for a box that sits and does functions for me that I don't have to babysit. So I might as well have, a nice powerful box and hook that up via VMs. So that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. And sometimes I haven't seen insurgents. Is that the right word? It's like like how they have like now we're talking 5 terabyte drives, 4 and 5 terabyte drives. So imagine like a one box, like a Western Digital box, like the one you showed, the 3D drive, but with that backup, the server backup software, bare metal restore, bare metal backup, bare metal restore to a USB drive, and and if it's 5 terabytes, put all my media on there, and then just connect that like either network, like a Drobo box, connect that to your network, Wi-Fi and whatever, and then go grab your content there. Because like we talk about backups, we say have it 3-2-1, two places, two formats. The cloud can be. The cloud shouldn't be your only well, my only backups destination I have, or the only backup I have is in the cloud. Have consider a local backup too, whether it be a home server or a Synology box. But say, okay, if it's not expensive, the high speed internet, if I'm not like on a cap and stuff like that, and the speed is pretty quick, okay, give me an online choice, but also give me my local, more secure stuff. This is why a lot of companies, Microsoft is making it easy for them to say, hey, don't use your servers, connect to our Azure and run your server software on us. Some companies, they say yes, and companies say no, we want it in our own hands. We don't want whatever the NSA looking at our stuff. We want to keep it local, disconnected from the web. So that's something to think about.
That's that show that I do every year with you guys, where I go to Fry's and I buy a couple of cheap USB drives. I hook them up to the server. I download all the stuff to it, and download. Sound like a rookie there. I copy all my photos, pictures, and stuff, and then just label it 2014 photos, and you take it to Grandma's house. You say, Grandma, put this in your shelf. Don't touch it. There's your backup. There's your offsite right there. There's your crash plan. No monthly fees. No bandwidth requirements.
Or take it to a security deposit box.
Yeah. Grandma's pretty secure. She's not going to mess with your stuff.
Yeah, but somebody might think she's an easy target.
No. They're going to see all those old VCR tapes, and they're going to say, no, we don't want anything this old lady has. All right, with that, it's been a great show. It's good to talk about servers. We used to do this once a week, John. We used to do this once a week. It's hard to keep this up.
Yeah.
We'll do it some more. So, Chris, thanks for coming out, drashing in the forums.
Thanks for having me again.
You betcha. Die Hard, he is Die Hard in the forums. Die Harder on Twitter, right, John?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, it's been fun. Thanks, chat room. Thanks, live streamers on YouTube. Appreciate you hanging out with us. I'm sorry we kept you for, hour 36, but hopefully you learned something, and hopefully you'll go down this path of creating a server for yourself. If not, hey, just hang out with us in the forums. You can always find us out there in the homeservershow.com forums. And don't forget, we are a member of the Geeks Network. You can find more podcasts just like this one that's real fun and real techy, real geeky. There's lots of that out there at thegeeksnetwork.com. We'll see you back here next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Phew.
So, Dave, you think they're going to Microsoft's going to have a 8.1 mini tablet there? What is it, the Surface Mini? That's a for sure? Absolute?
I can't comment.
So that means he knows for certain, just NDA.
That's why we're not podcasting tonight. I can't comment.
It's always fun when you can read between the lines, especially if you actually know the stuff. It's the thing I miss most about my NDA.
Oh no, it's worse. It's worse. I mean, the home server guys, they used to share with us, right? I remember that meeting online where they told us, yeah, we're gonna kill Drive Extender. Like,
yeah, I remember that. That was
what?
Yeah.
That was some NDA stuff right there.
Remember Veil?
Yeah.
Was it the beta build that still had the media center in it?
Yeah, actually, I think that might still be NDA. I don't know. Nobody talks about it.
Well, yeah.
Nobody talks about it. Yeah. The Surface stuff is worse. it's worse. So.
Lots of fun information that they give you.
No, they give you 0.
Oh, I hated that. Well,
No.
apparently, the home server stuff, we were like the most in the loop team
Oh, definitely.
for MVPs.
Definitely. Yeah. This is my 3rd MVP title, so we were definitely more in the loop.
And I think we will also probably had some of the more passionate people too. So
Yeah. I mean, think about the group that I'm in. I mean, these guys are head to head with, Samsung and Apple. So
yeah,
they're not going to just throw out the roadmap, right, to these
well,
12 people.
I hate to name names, but I know there's some MVPs that tend to be given the information and then just blog it right away.
Yeah.
Throw it.
Yeah, but see, that's what's good sometimes when you don't have when somebody says, you want to hear our stuff, but you have to sign an NDA. It's like, no, we don't want to know, because we want to be able to. If we hear a little information somewhere, we want to be able to, send it out there. So we don't want to, we want to do it.
Yeah, there's some of those people that I swear that they let break the NDA just because they want, the press for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at least Nash, remember with Microsoft, what was that they had Build, right? Not too long ago, where they were kind of talking to the people, customers, and kind of, because you know how they were saying, like with Sonovsky, it was a little bit, everything was hidden, and let's not talk, let's pull an Apple and keep everything undercover. And then it's like, okay, now that's kind of like, look, this is where we want to go with Windows Phone, 8.1 and all of that. They kind of give you a little bit of the roadmap and stuff like that, so that now they're saying, hey, the developers can get in a little earlier. We can kind of, do some more testing and actually listen to what the people are saying they want and stuff like that, and kind of give them a little bit of that,
Well,
So
not to bash on like Surface Geek stuff, but one of the main reasons why I haven't gone back to Windows Phone and kind of avoid the Metro or modern UI apps is because there's almost nothing out there. I mean, you can find the stuff, but like Android, Apple, they have like an overwhelming marketplace with, like, you can find pretty much anything for your needs, but the Windows stuff doesn't have that. I think Google doesn't have any of the apps for the Windows stuff really. It's all third-party stuff that hooks into their services. But so I think Microsoft trying to connect with the developers and get feedback from them is about the smartest thing they can do. And it's can be a risky strategy, but I think it'll pay off because it gets
those
developers
guys are
more
completely
active.
separate from us too.
Yeah.
The Windows Phone guys, and I think they do have a pretty good rapport with their group. I know, we got pretty special treatment the last summit, but we're still not getting, the secrets aren't coming out. That's what they got to do.
Look at those guys. Speaking about, look at who was those guys at Build there? Didn't they get like a $500 gift certificate, and then they also got I think they got a phone, or no, $500 gift certificate and an Xbox One.
Yeah, but those devs, I don't know how much those tickets were. They're like $1,200, $1,500. They pay to go there to get that, and and that gear that they're given is supposed to be gear that they use to develop.
Development kits, basically, yeah.
Not eBay.
So that happens.
Oh yeah, it does. It always floods the market, but
it's incentive to go.
MVP.
Hey, what do you think about the new? I saw today. I think it was popped up there. Xbox One. They're gonna like unbundle the Kinect.
I was gonna ask you guys. It kind of wasn't the show to go over it. It kind of needs to be on like a media show, but
I think it's a great idea that they're unbundling it.
Yeah, because it makes me think. Well, my HTPC is kind of dying, right? So should I? It's gonna take me $500 to build a nice new HTPC the way I want to build it.
I was about to say you could do it for like 2, maybe 300.
Well, and then or 400, I get an Xbox One.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But what's a hard drive on Xbox One? What size is that hard drive?
Not sure, but they're also bringing down the paywall for Netflix and YouTube and Hulu and stuff.
You don't have to
So
be
you're not.
gold.
So you don't have to have a gold account. So that's $8 a month less that you have to spend to be able to get those services.
Yeah.
Which I think is also a great idea, and will probably move a few more Xbox Ones.
Well, take that back. Xbox One, you can't use it to extend Media Center, can you?
No, I don't believe so.
No.
But Media Center extenders are all but dead,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
And I'm still using them.
I switched to Xbox Media Center and use a MySQL database to sync all of them.
Hmm.
What's your cat eating back there?
Food.
Food.
Okay.
Yeah, they like eating out of the top of the feeder.
Instead of the bottom.
Yeah, instead of the bottom. I had knocked it off and it got lost somewhere, and they like to eat that way.
At least cats are smart. They're not like dogs. They won't just go eat it all.
Yeah, dogs that eat it out of the street.
Yeah.
Dumb
Well, they'll
dog.
find that if they can find the container, they'll just,
Eat the whole bag. Yeah, food.
and then get sick, and then eat the rest of it.
Yeah, throw it all up and then eat the throw.
Yeah.
Not the dog. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we're officially off the rails.
Uh,
We're gonna end this one. Thanks for hanging out, guys.
Again, thanks for having me.
All right, Dave. Take care. Have a good night.
All right, you two guys. We'll have you back.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Bye.